That my tribe, that my crew, that my clique.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Kickback Culture. And today we are talking about the minimum wage issue, and we have some special guests. We have Clarice here, and we also have and we also have Brandon. You know him. He was in another video before. You know him and Angie are married, so yeah.
Okay.
Just put it out there. You know.
Yes.
You know. The controversy is about just the federal minimum wage being increased. There was a law passed in the past couple of years that's going to require the federal minimum wage to be raised to $15 by the year 2021 or 26, one of the two. So pretty much that will be the federal minimum for all states. Mm-hmm. So the federal minimum would be like you have to pay your worker at least $15.
Right.
And a lot of people have issue with it. The one issue that I've heard is that a lot of people who are college educated with degrees don't want to be making the same amount as a burger flipper at McDonald's, you know. And then some people are afraid that if minimum wage increases, that means the prices of everything else is going to increase too. Rent, groceries, whatever have you. And then it's just going to be the cycle of trying to always catch up.
Mm-hmm. Apples are going to be $10, you know?
Okay, you know, gas going to be $12. I mean,
right.
Come on. So a lot of people are on the fence about it, so I would love to hear you guys' take on what you think about that.
Well, I think that minimum wage is far too low right now. The federal minimum wage is about $7. $7.25? $7.25, and that's nationwide. While it is different here in California, I believe the minimum wage is 12? 13. Still, if you are, they try to tell people you need to pull yourself up from your bootstraps, get out there, work hard, da 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 da. If I am someone who is trying to do just that, I go to my local whatever, and they start me at a full-time job working $7 an hour in Kansas or $12 an hour in Los Angeles, I can't survive. You are not going to have enough money for your rent, you know, if you have children, for daycare, you know, for all this other stuff. So I think that it needs to be a wage that people can survive on in that city. Yeah. And what it is right now, you just can't survive.
First of all, it's impossible. Yeah. And that's pretty much why here in Los Angeles, love this city, but that's why the homeless epidemic is even more so growing. And it's younger people, and it's very able people, but they just can't make it in the city either. So
I think that, well, I was talking to a friend of mine, and, you know, he was talking about how, you know, if the federal minimum wages increase, that's going to hurt a lot of businesses, mainly small businesses, because if you have a small business that's already struggling to stay open, now they are federally, you know, obligated to pay workers that minimum wage, which is $15, and they're not going to be able to afford it, so their prices are going to go up, and they may lose business and go out of business.
Right.
So that was one thing that was brought up, but I just don't feel to see how that correlates. It doesn't make sense to me per se, but I don't understand.
Raising the minimum wage?
No, I could definitely. I even like there's a pizza shop not too far from here, and I was talking to one of the guys because California is going to increase the minimum wage to like $15. He was saying like, hey, I can't afford to pay my workers that amount of money. Like I'll have to let some people go. Just because, I mean, I make money, but at the end of the day, your employees are going to be that's going to be your biggest expense. Because you're going to have to pay them wages, maybe even health care, depending on if they're full-time. So it does impact a lot of small businesses. Given that, I mean, if they're going from 10 to 15, that's a huge jump.
Yeah, that is a huge jump.
Yeah, but some businesses can afford to pay for it, but I can understand how some businesses would struggle to pay people $15 an hour.
I mean,
I can see that.
The thing is, and this is kind of bad to say, but businesses, people go out of business all the time. You know what I mean? So I feel like if you can't afford to pay your workers, even that it's like, then perhaps your business model needs to be updated, or you shouldn't be in business at all. You know what I mean? So, and granted, I'm not trying to hate on people who are going into business for themselves. I respect that. But it's like, but if you want someone to spend their time and energy making your dream come true, then you should be able to give me you should be able to give me something that I can live off of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, so you want me to come here and work all these hours.
Right.
You can't even pay me a wage that I can live off of.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, so you shouldn't even be in business.
Right.
You know, because clearly your butt cakes aren't selling, man.
First of all,
your butt cakes aren't selling, man.
First of all, I know you ain't talking about nothing but cakes because that is fire. Nothing but cakes are a thriving business.
Is that a real business?
Yes!
Nothing
They make
but
the
cakes.
best bun cakes!
Yeah.
I think that like when you have like wages, if they're just stagnant, if they're not moving over time, then businesses used to paying their workers $10 an hour. But if you just raise it $5, like 2021, that's what, 2 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Minimum wage now is what? What's the $12?
It's 12.
It's going from
It's
12 to 15, and I mean that could be a big jump for a lot of businesses. Like,
Yeah.
hey, like next year we're paying our workers $3 more than what we were paying them a year prior, versus gradually raising wages like each year by like maybe, I don't know, less than $1 or something like that.
Right.
So,
But
I mean,
imagine being in Kansas and like the minimum wage there is $7.
it's like $7.
And so it's gonna jump from $7 to 15. There's gonna be a lot of
like businesses,
lawnmower
like,
businesses in Kansas.
It's gonna be struggling.
Do we know the facts as to if we've done this before, that huge leap, like that much money, like federal wise? Like, have we ever done a minimum wage that?
I don't know.
No, minimum wage, like since probably 2005 has increased slowly, like by $1, 50
Right,
cents,
but not
25
like
cents.
this much.
But never like $5, $3. Like this is a
So
huge leap.
I got paid minimum wage when I was working at my university when I was in college, and I was working 20 hours a week while in college, and I paid my rent.
Yeah.
And I got fed. My rent was $250.
Yeah.
But granted, I lived in Norman, Oklahoma. I went to the University of Oklahoma.
Right.
But like that
Same.
made sense.
Mm-hmm.
But like I just feel like it just matters of where you're located. Like in
Yeah.
LA, you're on the streets.
Right.
Period. Like.
Yeah.
But I do say this because I don't know if this has already been passed as something that's going to happen. But I think that in America, like the businessman wins. Like the ones,
Oh,
the
yeah.
1%ers, the ones that are owning all these corporations, they're the ones who are winning. Like you guys are over here talking about pollution and all this other stuff. These 1%ers are the ones, like literally a handful of people are dictating whether the earth is going to end in 100 years or 1,000 years. You know what I'm saying? And so when it comes to money, it's hard to even imagine something like that is going to happen, because that's why they keep voting for Trump, because they're like, businessmen, we don't want to pay this. And so I'm just like, all right, maybe instead of raising the minimum wage, how about we make trade schools free? How about we make community colleges free? How about we find a way that public and state schools are less or free? You know what I'm saying? So that people who want to get a leg up can actually do it while they're working these low-paying jobs. You know what I'm saying? Girl, I want to say president! I'm running for president!
But I also feel like perhaps instead of raising the federal minimum to 15, maybe have the federal minimum become like 9 or 10, and then have the states decide what's a livable wage for their infrastructure. Because obviously here $15 would save a lot of people's lives, because rent here is ridiculous.
I think.
You know what I mean?
I think the thing that just worries me right now is like that's coming up in the future, and even right now, big businesses are treating their employees so horribly.
Right.
Lyft and Uber have cut their wages. Amazon Prime, all of those. Do you know that those Amazon people who are driving those vans and are doing all that labor and all of that, they're getting like not a lot of money to do that.
Wow.
So like already all these huge businesses are treating their employees like crap, and now you're gonna raise this, and then you're gonna extra treat them like crap because the minimum wage has gone up.
Yeah. All
And
the
now
while,
you're ticked about it.
all the while, the CEO, what's his name of Amazon?
Jeff Bezos
Didn't pay taxes.
didn't pay not an ounce, not an ounce. Well,
So that's just like it's sad. It's just like I feel like this it's just slowly just.
Well, for me, I feel like the conversation on minimum wage is just revealing how classist we are as a country. Because I feel like, well, one, for me, like a lot of people who were talking about like, oh, I don't want to make the same amount as a, McDonald's worker because I have a college degree. Well, one, perhaps you should face reality that your college degree doesn't mean a lot. Like it did 10 years ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like literally a college degree nowadays doesn't carry a lot of weight. Like a lot of jobs require a degree, a bachelor's or a master's, but it doesn't carry a lot of weight. Like I was telling Brandon earlier today, like a friend of mine posted a job that required a master's degree, but they were only paying $15.25. And I'm like,
what is this job?
I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, to get your master's, that's like 6-7 years of school.
You have loans.
And you think that I can afford to? What?
They got a master of disaster.
No, I think that it's like it depends on the skill. You know what I mean? I think at the end of the day, like you need some sort of skill. And so, like, if you're a plumber, you can make more than someone who has a master's degree.
Yeah.
If you're a welder,
yes,
or if you're a carpenter, like, you can make more money, right? Because that skill is valuable. Like, we need plumbers, you know what I mean? Like,
forever.
In homes, we need plumbers, And so, like, I feel like it comes down to having a skill set, regardless of your degree. So, like, how valuable is your skill set? And so that's how much you'll get paid. So if you're working at KFC frying chicken, I mean, that's not much of a skill, like.
Well,
is it?
No.
You're not a chef.
On a technical level, I agree. However, the labor that people spend at these customer service jobs, if you're in retail, if you're in fast food, it is not easy. For one, the workload is too much. Like people are hired for one job, but they're literally doing 6 of them. You know what I mean? You're dealing with a company culture that they don't value you. They treat you like shit. They make sure you know that you're expendable. And if you don't compromise for what we want you to do, we'll fire you and we'll have somebody else in your job in literally a day. You know what I mean? And so the company culture is not safe. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everything, and they don't pay you well enough. But on top of all that, the main thing is dealing with these dusty, musty, crusty customers.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So
Where have you worked?
I
know.
Girl.
He went somewhere in his mind.
But what? Look, I mean, I worked at Forever 21. I worked at Ross. I worked at the movie theater. I worked at Madame Tussauds. I worked at Old Navy. You know what I mean? I worked at a few places.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
shout out to Ross.
You know,
Ross.
Ross is trash. They're a trash company to work for. I don't care what anybody has to say. They are a trash company to work for.
The candle.
Let's stay on topic. But what I'm saying is the labor and energy that people and it's like managers at Taco Bell, they work about 10 to 16 hours a day. You know what I mean? And they're there 7 days a week. For 12, for 13, for 15, like that's a very low wage.
But they know that though.
But what other choices do they have?
They have other choices. Go get yourself a trade.
Yeah, my thing is just like, I mean, I don't know.
Go learn how to weld. Go learn how.
I think it's like.
It may be easier said than done. Sorry.
It is easier said than done.
Go ahead. Come on, go ahead, scoot it, girl, scoot it.
He just said that. Well, go, Brandon. You go ahead first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say. I mean, like, I think that I don't want to be mean, but like, people are expendable. Like, if I'm training someone to work fried chicken, like, I mean, how much training do you need to work at KFC in the kitchen?
Brandon, fried chicken? No,
it's not. Anybody can do that. You can put anyone in there because they tell you what to do.
Some chicken is bleeding.
Until they get some chicken that's bleeding.
I don't know what kind of chicken they got at KFC.
But my thing is that like,
bleed,
if you have like an engineer, like you can't just fire an engineer. You have to go out and find another one, right? You have to find someone who's good at building bridges. And so there's only so many people out there that specialize in that skill. So that's why it's valuable, because it's like I can't just fire this person to get this person. But if you're like a janitor, or if you're like working at a fast food restaurant, like it's easy to train someone. You can bring someone 15, 16 years old and train them to do the job. I mean, it's not like your like your emerald or something like that, you know, and you're coming up with your own recipe.
I've never worked fast food. However, I think it's easier said than done that like people can just go out and find a trade and do all this stuff. What if they can't afford to do that? They have to work at Popeyes, KFC, wherever, in order to make the money to go do that. And if they're working 10 hours for $10, when do they have time to go and do this? I do think that in life you make choices and you have the option. You, like, in theory, you can do whatever it is your heart desires.
Right.
Do you have the time? Do you have the funds?
Right.
Right.
Like, realistically, this stuff isn't free. Somebody just said maybe we should make trade schools and these things free. They're not.
They are.
So if you don't have a dime
and there's no
and you have to work, what day off are you getting to go to school?
Right.
If you're working for one of these trash companies.
But where does it end though? It's
I mean, but for some people,
it's
there
like,
is no ending.
what can you do to help that person?
It's not so much what can you do to help that person,
Yeah.
but like, what can they do? I don't know. Like, what can they
You know
do
what
in
I
the
mean?
little bit of time they have?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like if you're tired of not making money, you have to jump to a profession that pays more.
True,
And that
and
profession
there
pays-
always,
But you
always
have
have
to,
possibilities.
but you have to prepare yourself for those changes too, because like if you have a child or children, if you're taking care of like a family member, you know what I mean. If you have obligations, it's like you have to prepare to make those moves because you have to have a safety net for whatever
Or
can
some
occur
type of
when you
assistance.
do let go of those.
And quite frankly, maybe raising minimum wage could assist, because if this person, you know what I mean, goes from making $10 to making $15, can save a little bit of their check every, you know what I mean, like time they get paid, maybe it's possible in a year or so, probably more.
Maybe
But-
$15.
But however, minimum wage goes up, cost of living goes
True.
up. We're right
Same
where we
thing.
are.
True.
And
We're
who it's
right where
really
we are.
who it's really going to affect is the middle class. The people who aren't low income, and they probably their salaries aren't going to go up any, but their rent is, because the minimum wage went up.
Exactly. And cost of living.
And their cost of living went up, and so it's just like, dang, I don't get a raise.
Oh no, we get 3% if we're lucky
If
every
you're
year.
lucky. Yeah, every year,
The
which is
middle-
nothing. Which is
yeah,
literally like
nothing.
$100 or something like that.
Nothing.
But and like if the middle class is failing, your country is failing. And right now the middle class is failing. You have got to make the 1% more responsible in this country, okay? A lot of the reason why people are struggling and, you know, they're working these full-time jobs, they don't have health care because, you know, their jobs aren't giving it to them. My sister worked for Koch Industries, one of the most wealthiest, what is the Koch brothers, or like the wealthiest people in the world, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they didn't even give maternity leave. You know what I'm saying?
What?
They didn't give maternity. She had to take sick time for having a baby. They didn't see maternity leave. So it's like you have these 1%ers that are making these decisions that have such a huge impact, whether you're low income, middle income, you're out here busting your ass for these people who are just greedy. You know what I'm saying? Like in America, it's so backwards, like how they see life and work and that balance of it. It's just really disgusting. I'm getting fired up. I'm moving to France.
This conversation has stressed me out so much. I have gulped this